Hello there, and welcome back to the Courageous Pivot Podcast. I'm your host, Meghan Telpner. It's been a little while since I did a solo episode, and today's episode is a little bit different. It's not so much pivot related, but more a reflection on what I've been observing since I stepped back from both my business and, well, over the last few months in general, just not being on social media. It is becoming increasingly obvious that what so many of us entrepreneurs have been doing is selling a bit of a fantasy when it comes to entrepreneurship. And this has happened over the last 10 to 15 years, or maybe I'm only seeing it because that's the time frame I've been in it. But it's like this massive elephant in the room. And this elephant is not sleeping very well at night, is not always taking the best care of its health, is challenged in a lot of ways in its life. And I'm not sure that anyone is really talking about this honestly. And you almost can't while you're in it, because one, it's hard to see and hard to reflect on, but also it's a bit of this train you got to keep on driving. Now, this show is about pivots, and it seems there is no greater pivot story out there than the person who leaves the chains of corporate for the freedom of entrepreneurship. And it has not gone unnoticed by me that just about all my guests have done just that. And, well, I have too. And you know the story. Someone may have come to mind as I talk about this. Someone hits rock bottom, overcomes something massive, builds a business from nothing, and suddenly they're free. Free from the 9-to-5, free from asking permission, free to travel the world, make their own schedule, and be their own boss. Freedom. One of the reasons I'm drawn to inviting people onto the show, and these people I'm mindfully choosing to tell their stories, is because they've all had very clear in-between times. It hasn't been all joy and freedom. It's important, I think, to make it clear that following your bliss, living and working from the heart isn't all, working and living from the hammock with a beach view. That, of course, is the highlight reel. So what no one really talks about is how you leave the 9-to-5 for all this freedom, but what you're actually doing is trading the 9-to-5 for 24/7. But it's okay, right? Because we're building our own dream. And I bought into that story too. I lived it for over 15 years, and I don't regret any of it for a moment. It worked for me. It worked. The plan worked. And it also felt like the only path for me and my rebellious, unemployable soul. I built a successful business that I was able to infuse with my love, my passion, and my spirit. My assistant Jen, the woman who has been with me for years now and who edits this show, recently asked me if I thought my business was successful because I had the right business at the right time, or if it was actually just my hard work, discipline, and capacity to produce a lot, which is why it worked. And my answer was that I do believe I had the right business and the right time, and that I also ended it at the right time, and I worked my tail off. If it hadn't been that business, it would have been something else. If I had to start over again today, I'd also figure that out. But this is 2026, not 2008. And if I were to start over today, it would be an entirely different business. But even though my business worked and was profitable and had reach and had impact and had meaning and all the things that mattered to my entrepreneurial soul, you know what I learned? Well, that freedom thing, how I would define it, how many people define it, it's a bit of a massive misconception. Again, I have to clarify because I did achieve exactly what I'd hoped to from being self-employed financially and in the clear heart-led purpose I worked for every single day. But I'm not entirely sure I would define it as feeling a sense of freedom when I was in it. I was, looking back, chained to my laptop. I could show off lots of things on social media, my cooking classes, my stacks of welcome packages for new registrants, the praise that poured in. But the real success, what I was most celebrating personally, was never anything I needed validation for. It was and is the quality of life it all afforded me. That was always my objective, not the external praise from my ego. The thing is, and this is important, you don't have to start your own business to experience freedom. Freedom is in your heart. That is ultimately the courageous pivot. It's in your choices. It's in your mindset. You can experience a heart-led life by doing nothing other than changing your perspective on where you're at today. In short, not everyone can or should be an entrepreneur. That dream isn't going to be the dream for everyone. So why do some of us do this? Or should I say, do this to ourselves? There's usually something driving it, some need underneath it all. And maybe it's a need to control the outcome of something. Maybe it's a need to prove something to someone, to yourself, to your family. Maybe you're a little broken, a little quirky, a little unemployable, like me. I've met so many entrepreneurs over the years, and there's always something. That's not always a bad thing. Not at all, unless, of course, they haven't also landed at what their optimal destination is. Knowing what mountain they're climbing and what the quality of life factors need to be checked off in order to know that they're on the right track. That has to be in place. The fire can create incredible things, but it can also cause us to lose our way. Being really, really good at your business doesn't mean you're good at running a business or cultivating a joyful life or managing your finances or managing anything really. Cash flow issues, poor employee retention, people being treated badly or strung along on contracts forever because the business owner doesn't want to commit to actually employing people. It's all become normalized. Some even call this way of working freedom. But here's the thing about entrepreneurs. We can sell really, really well. Whatever we create, we will be the best person to sell it. And that includes selling you on the dream we're building for ourselves, even if it's not the right fit for you. Even if at our core, in our hearts, it's not even working for us anymore. This hit me all at once around the same time I deleted social media from my phone. Getting some distance and then occasionally popping back to check my messages only to be bombarded with all the ways I'm supposedly doing everything in my life completely wrong. I'm not working out right. I'm not eating enough protein. I'm not sleeping as well as I could be. I'm not raising my child right. My clothes are outdated. I'm not maximizing my email list. I don't have the right small kitchen appliances. My lips aren't plump enough. I don't have freckles tattooed on my face. This one is a special new edition. The most popular story, of course, is the experts telling you what you're doing wrong and what they've got right, only to reveal 6 months later that when they said all that, they were in their own free fall. What actually inspired me to write and record this was when I was invited to apply for a Webby Award. I thought, why not? I've never really been into these awards. I don't think they mean much. But I thought with this, maybe it could help the show reach more people. I got all the way through to the end of the application and was then asked to pay something like $500 or $600 just to apply. And then it clicked. It's all fake. Pay to play will get you to magazine covers, billboards, podcast features, and more. People showing up on social media, celebrating gross revenue without disclosing operational costs, without understanding cost per acquisition, without knowing what their net revenue actually is at the end of the year, what their real gains versus losses are in their finances, but more so, maybe life as a whole. Maybe they don't even know, just so long as it looks impressive, right? People are performing success because they think that's what they're supposed to do, because everyone else is, because that's what sells, because social proof has become our time's obsession, a primary metric of success. But it's dealing in monopoly money. Beyond the ego, it gets us nowhere. I also think it must be such a hard way to show up every day, like you're never quite keeping up with your own story. I watch people pour more and more money into their businesses, grow these big operations, scale them, bring on investors, growth at all costs. And those costs might be huge and counter to everything they actually want in their hearts. But again, that's the game of entrepreneurship. Bigger, faster, more is more. Why not maximize when you can? What I'm wondering is this. Maybe entrepreneurship isn't actually all that most people think it is. What if it's not about freedom at all, or not in the way we're approaching it, at least not now? In the years I was operating my business, yes, I could go away for long stretches. I didn't have to ask anyone's permission to book an extended holiday or take a day off. That part was true and was awesome. But I rarely had an actual holiday. I don't remember a single day that was truly a day off. I would tell myself it's part of the plan, it's not forever, or what most of us say is, I don't mind checking in, it's fine. And I didn't mind because I didn't see an alternate option. And when I actually disconnected or let emails pile up unanswered, Slack messages ignored, the anxiety would become overwhelming. Let me just take an hour to get caught up. It's fine. I don't mind. And 4 hours later, I would shut my laptop wondering where that half day went. It was hard, but I also had a very clear goal. I wasn't seeking an exit. I didn't want investors. I didn't want to sell. I didn't have anyone to answer to. Mostly, I was just hooked into addressing the problems that needed solving while I continued to steadily invest the net surplus revenue. I knew this wasn't forever. This was the plan. Part of the challenge we have now is that we've been so engrossed in what we see unfolding and what people are presenting to us on social media for the last decade and all the ads that bombard us. We've been watching Shark Tank, and in Canada we have Dragon's Den. We've been listening to podcasts with these big deal people talking about their VCs, their investors, their sponsors, their investments in other companies, their acquisitions. There's so much celebration for growth, which is great if that's what really matters, if that's really what the solution is. But also, what if it's all wrong? What if there's actually beauty in keeping something small and meaningful, in earning enough to live the life you want to live and investing for your family's future without needing to dominate an industry or build an empire? It never occurred to me to bring on investors or to spend to a point of loss to generate more and more sales in my courses, to increase the valuation of the business, to have more customers, higher lifetime value, higher gross revenue. These weren't considerations. I wanted to make an impact, a deep and meaningful one through my work on those that sought me out. That was it. I also know, looking back, that likely about 40% of the time I spent busily working was doing things I was just kind of afraid to stop doing that weren't really having an impact. It didn't need to be as much as it was, but I just didn't know how to work differently. I was at an entrepreneurship event a few years ago. Someone stood up and said their goal was to get their company to $1 billion in revenue. $1 billion in revenue. And all I could think was why? For what? No one needs $1 billion. No one. Is it possible that the beauty is really in the slow and simple? In loving the process instead of chasing some arbitrary metric of success? Could I have kept going if I hadn't gone so big, so fast? I don't know. I'll never know. And I don't regret the way I did things, but I can look back and see how things could have been different. Particularly, I think about the first couple of years of my child's life when I was literally juggling a full-time business, or more so running my company, while also trying to be a full-time mother. It did not work. I did love the process for the most part until I got lost in it, until I got caught up in objectives around growth that didn't actually align with what I wanted, that were more than I needed. Then it became stressful. I never once achieved my annual business goals. Not once. But I also never lost sight of my primary goal. I would set these annual goals to reach, say, 400 students registered in the Culinary Nutrition Expert Program. I never once reached that goal. I got to 389, I think it was the closest, and maybe give or take a few as the term began and people came and left. I wanted that goal to celebrate it. That was an ego-driven goal. My primary goal in my heart, the one that aligned for me, was never to grow the biggest business, was never to become the most popular on social media or have the biggest email list. That wasn't it. It was simply to retire early, to have real freedom, not the performative version. I had my head down, focused on figuring out how to run a company that I would have killed to work for, how to best serve those that chose to invest in my offerings, how to manage my personal life without it falling apart, how to not have to be on my computer after I put my baby to sleep, and most of all, how to stay aligned with what my goal had been all along, true freedom. And for me, getting clear on that first was everything. I wasn't perfect, not even close. And not everyone who worked for me would say I created a great environment, but I worked on it. What I know for sure is that success and freedom is not achieved by spending hours a day creating content for social media or applying for awards or doing these things that, get you that instant validation. It comes by creating great and meaningful work, products people need and want, to be a joy to engage with, and above all else, to be human, exactly as you are, and ensure everyone in your company is being human too. Real, truthful, honest, authentic. Like really authentic. It's all too rare these days. Not all of it has to be shared either. You can keep a lot to yourself. It's about the energy, the vibration. What you're putting out is what you will draw back in. And that can happen whether you have your own business or work within an organization. It's a matter of personal clarity, knowing what matters most to you. You don't need to start your own business to live the dream. That's not the solution. What we actually have to do is figure out what our dream is, what we individually want for the life we are living right now. Not the life we think we should want, And not the life that looks good on paper, but the life that actually feels right in our hearts. To live a courageous life in our times means to live one that is real and true, one that is infused with joy and where we have the capacity to be present within it. Can you strike it rich and live a life of great freedom as an entrepreneur? Maybe, but can also come at great risk and at times great cost. Is it worth it? Well, that's up to you. Ultimately, I think it's all much simpler than we've made it. We have to stop taking what we see at face value. We have to stop believing the highlight reel. We have to stop comparing our insides to everyone else's outsides. The more I talk to the super souls for the show, the more I know that everything you need to live the life that is right for your soul, you already have. Coaches can help guide you. Books can help inspire you. Other people's stories can light something up inside you. But you cannot lose your own way. You cannot hand over your knowing to someone else's fail-proof blueprint. There's just no such thing. I watch people relocate, move their families, world school their kids, build big, elaborate businesses and big, elaborate lives, and it looks amazing. And you know what? It is amazing for them. It's beautiful for them, if that's their dream. But it's not for everyone. It's not right for each of us. Changing direction is not easy. That's what this show is about. Stopping doing something takes tremendous courage, whether you're in year 1 or 20 years in. It is, however, never too late to admit when something isn't working, that we were heading in the wrong direction, that we put the ladder against the wall and climbed as fast as we could, only to find ourselves in the wrong place entirely. Admitting that takes real courage. Acting on it takes even more, and most people just aren't ready for that level of honesty or for the fallout that could come after. So instead, we keep performing, keep posting, keep pretending everything is fine while we're drowning behind the scenes. We just keep selling the dream. But here's what I want you to consider. What is your actual dream? The one you're dreaming of today. Not the one you think you should have, and not the one that looks impressive on someone else. The one that feels true for you. Like if no one could see it, you didn't have to tell anyone or share anything about it. What do you need to live that life? Do you even actually know? Have you done the math? I always like to pull out my calculator when I need to. And what are you currently doing that's taking you further away from that instead of closer to it? Because the courageous pivot isn't always about starting something. First, you have to stop something, usually. Sometimes it's about getting smaller instead of bigger. Sometimes it's about admitting that what you thought you wanted isn't actually serving you anymore or isn't working anymore. And that takes more guts than any business launch ever will. So consider this your permission slip, your invitation to question everything you've been told about success, about entrepreneurship, and about what it means to live well. Because at the end of the day, the only person who knows what's right for you is you, not the influencers, not the gurus, and not the people selling you their version of freedom. Just you and your heart and your actual life. And well, that's where I'm going to leave it for today. As always, I want to thank you for being here, for listening, for questioning alongside me. If this resonated with you, I want you to take a selfie of yourself listening to it in your perfectly curated home, in your perfectly matching outfit, and post it to social media and tag me. Just kidding. I probably won't see it. No, if this resonated with you, I want you to share it with a friend. Send them a DM, send them a text message, an email, a phone call, but then you have to share the link by one of those other methods. Share it with someone you know who you think might resonate. It's the meaningful connections that really matter, and it's what's going to help us find our way back home to ourselves. As always, I appreciate you being here. And before you go, one more thing, head over to thecourageouspivot.com to subscribe so you'll get next week's episode right to your inbox when it's ready. Have a beautiful rest of your day.